Ooh, man. Chickens coming home to roost. That is what I am seeing in the curious case of Poetic Flakko, the no-jumper mascot. Over the course of the past few weeks, he has taken an utter fall from grace. You see, if you don't watch the No Jumper podcast or channel in general, because they have many podcasts on there, then you may not be familiar with a character by the name of Poetic Flakko, who is one of their newest hosts, newest workers, newest employees there, essentially, in the media field. And he, ever since he stepped on the scene, has come with extremely inflammatory views and rhetoric. He is a representative, a self-claimed representative of the manosphere. He is one of the red-pilled, and most importantly, he is a religious follower of DJ Academics. And I personally like DJ Academics. So, I can't say that I like him as a human being, but I like his contributions to media, content, and the YouTube space in totality. As a person, who cares? Honestly, I don't know him, probably will never meet him in real life. But Poetic Flakko takes this to a new level when we're talking about worship and idolatry. He emulated every aspect of DJ Academic's personality, from inflections of his voice, like literally the way that he phrases and moves, the tone of his voice when he is articulating himself is clearly mimicked from DJ Academics. I want to say a few things about that. Flakko is a person who we're recently discovering discrepancies about where he's actually raised in America, but basically is from Africa and moved here at a relatively young age. A lot of his culture would be that of immigrant culture. DJ Academics also has immigrant culture because he's from Jamaica originally. Ak was a very big presence on YouTube ever since, 2013 and 14 is when I started watching him, but I'm pretty sure he's been doing things before that. So I would assume that a person like Flakko has had the ability and access to watch him for a long time in order to study him and his mannerisms. And I'm saying all this to set up that I don't think, and I'm going to give him a little bit of leeway to say that I think the reason that he does what he does in the way that he does is because of how much time that he has studied academics in his content. And that's the way that he has learned to actually speak, not speak English, because he has, ever since he has spoken, pretty much he's been in an English-speaking country. But in order to learn American ways, let's say that, Western culture, he has learned that very significantly from DJ Academics, and I think that's obvious. My problem with that is when he tries to translate that into his content creation. It's natural for a person to show their influence, but mimicry, complete and utter mimicry, is a different thing. And from the inflections of his voice to the word choice and phrasing that he uses to literal beliefs and beats that he picks up are all in mimicry of DJ Academics. Up until recently, when, because of his popularity, because of the controversy that has been growing on No Jumper, I would assume that Flakko is thinking that he is getting closer to or approaching being held in the same conversations as DJ Academics. Well, DJ Academics has spoken out publicly about how absolutely laughable that sentiment is, and I agree with him. I think that Poetic Flakko is nowhere close to what Academics has done by himself as one man, and I don't think that many people will ever come close to that in the realm of content creation. Love him or hate him, it takes a unique type of person built exactly like DJ Academics in order to do what he does, and that is just not what Flakko is. Now, bringing us up to current times here, because of his behaviors, not just the mimicry of DJ Academics, but the inflammatory positioning that he has tried to place himself in his office, has come back to backfire on him, not just from guests attempting to assault or attack or insult him many times, outside characters making threats on his life, including not even media personalities, gang members, because of his commentary on that lifestyle while living in their backyard and only being protected by people who are on that side and are trying to account for his ignorance. People like AD. And I honestly think that there's some form of mental illness. Like, I honestly think he's at least autistic because of the way that he behaves and obviously the stutter. So I don't think that he actually realized that he put himself in that. But we cannot encourage and we cannot facilitate these kind of behaviors. So I want to say 3-4 weeks ago, maybe, as all of these things are building to a head, and Flakko is having friction between his co-hosts, Gina Views and Almighty Suspects, on the Monday show on the No Jumper channel, it eventually boils down to where a private conversation is had between Adam, the leader, the owner of No Jumper, and Flakko, and I don't know who else was there. But basically, the aftermath of that ended up with Flakko coming back to the Monday show and telling them that it was going to be their last episode. It wasn't, by the way. And that essentially both of them were going to be let go in so many words. To which he backpedals, which you will not get him to admit that that happened. But Almighty Suspect, a person who has never lied on camera in regards to his situation in the workplace, because there's the whole situation with the chain. I don't know the truth about that, and I'm not going to get into it. I'm going to talk about his truthfulness that he has carried through at the workplace. We don't really have a reason to disbelieve him, as to where we have every reason in the world to disbelieve Flakko. So when Almighty Suspect swears on his mom or his kids or whatever the hell he swore on, that Flakko said that there wasn't going to be a place for Gina Views, Flakko was, basically trying to kick them off the show, I believe him. Because Flakko has given us no reason to not believe him, and it fits in line with his personality, the things that he's describing. Flakko, of course, denies all of this, but in the end, ironically, the Monday show carries on. He gets removed. He tries to start his new show with Babalam. Shouts out to you, Babalam. And then that gets canceled because he's trash. And now, even more than all of that, he is currently, this week, being exposed as not even being from North Dakota. Apparently, he's from Pennsylvania, outside of Philadelphia, and really try to run away from that past, his upbringing, because he had a hard life. Go figure. And I'm going to tell you what, right now, I understand reinventing yourself, recreating yourself. It's actually one of the laws of power there, as you should do, but you're supposed to do it intelligently, meaning that you shouldn't leave glaring loopholes that people can obviously poke through. That's a part of reinventing yourself, is actually making a new life for yourself. You cannot just, there's no eraser. You have to go do something drastically different than what you're doing, which is not what happened in this case. So he got exposed for being from a place that he wasn't claiming there for all the time, even though it made sense, because I've even said his accent didn't make sense for a North Dakota person. So it was hilarious to see all that come out. It's just like, these small little lies that are so inconsequential have now led up to his ultimate demise, as to where now, because of Lush, one of the other co-hosts on No Jumper, calling him out with his old classmates and things like that, saying, no, we definitely went to this school this year, years that he claimed that he did not even live in the state that he went to school in, are proving it. People like AD, who do have that defensive big brother mentality, are trying to protect him. And I'm all for protecting the innocent, and I'm all for protecting the weak, and I'm all for protecting the disabled. But he's got a lesson that he has to learn. Sorry, my screen came up with a message. But he's got a lesson that he has to learn. He has to learn the lesson that you cannot continue to be so inflammatory and hyperbolic and not expect all of this stuff to come home and dump on you. We don't like people like that. DJ Academics fulfilled a very unique role, and have you noticed, there has not been a second DJ Academics, even though there have been many who have attempted. Dom is live, all these people. Say Cheese TV would be maybe close to that, but really he went more the Vlad route, interviewing people, than he did on commentary, meaning that he allows the rappers themselves to go fulfill the narrative, and he asks a few questions of them, but he doesn't really go out and poke and prod those kind of situations. DJ Academics what can I say? Not strategy, but his tactics are completely different. Full frontal attacks on behaviors, making fun of low stats, chopping people who are cocky down to size. And yes, he's cocky and does it in his own way, which you can feel a way about. I don't always agree with it, but it's valuable. I will say that it is valuable. Is Flakko valuable in what he does? No jumpers seemed to think that at first when they were getting the views from the inflammatory comments and things that he was making. But as time went on and more trouble than good came, and the views started to dwindle because people are sick of his little RTARD word shtick. Yeah, we get bored of that eventually. It's cloy, meaning it leaves an annoying taste in your mouth that makes your stomach hurt after too much. So my recommendation to Flakko would be get over yourself, you little weirdo. Take a speech class, go to therapy, and get yourself situated and learn how to be an actual human. And then you can come back to content creation and we might have some respect for you. But other than that, I'm going to be honest with you. When AD said that he was crying after all of this, after inviting Les to fight, he invited Les to fight, which I really wanted to happen because I want Flakko to be accosted by people who actually care about him personally, so he doesn't have to go out into the world and get accosted by somebody who doesn't care about him at all and is going to do it to him the worst way. Do you understand what I'm saying? So it's better for it to be handled in-house, even though it's being handled publicly there, than for it to be handled by somebody else, because people are waiting to catch that man, even till this day. Probably even after that. And there will be a day when AD cannot protect you anymore, and let's see if people still remember who you were and if they keep that same energy. But until now, I would be lying if I wasn't saying that I'm not enjoying every moment of this assault on Flakko and his character, because I think that it will actually be character building for him more so than anything. And if not, fuck him, man.